Hi, we're back. Hello, Femi. For the ones who were yesterday, you had the opportunity to meet Femi Otitoju. I will briefly introduce her. She's one of the first openly Black lesbian voices in the British television, long before representation was a buzzword. And her journey started in activism, co-founding the UK first Black lesbian group. So very focused on the topic today. And also in the 88, she founded Challenge Consultancy. So you can also check on her work. Thank you, Femi, for being here again. She will be moderating the conversation after the masterclass by Cheryl Dunye, and Femi will do the presentations of Cheryl. So please, you have the floor. Welcome, both of you, and thank you very much for being here. I know it's early in where you are, Cheryl. So thank you also for joining us in this time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thanks.
I was going to say good evening, but of course that wouldn't be right. So, and I've already been introduced, so you know what I do. Welcome to the closing masterclass of We Are the Plot Twist, Global Perspectives in Equity in Film. So I have worked for the last 30 years to make the film industry and the television industry safer, more accessible, more representative. And we've all been asked to suggest a film or something that has inspired us. There wasn't much around to inspire me when I was young and coming out, and that's what made me do what I wanted to do. But more recently, I have been inspired by a piece of work by a filmmaker called Veronica Mackenzie, and it's a film called Under Your Nose. And it's looking back at what we as Black lesbians and gay men in the UK achieved way back in the 80s. And I would recommend that to people. Before I do a proper introduction to Cheryl, was there something that inspired you, a book or a film?
Sure. A novel by Audre Lorde, because I'm an Audre Lordian, and hello everyone, called Zammy. And I read that when I was a young Black queer being, I guess lesbian, trying to figure things out in the 80s about, looking for something. And Zammy, told this story of a life of a woman in the 30s, 40s, and 50s figuring it out and having desire and thruples and so many exciting things. And I'll talk about that a little later, but that was the one that really sort of put all the parts of me together and said, go forth and be who you are.
Nice, thank you. I think that's probably true for lots of us. Um, right, let's get into this because over the last 2 days of this summit, we've been talking about representation and access and power and authority and stereotypes and all kinds of really important things. We've also been talking about joy, and I hope that doesn't get lost because it is one of the things that can get lost in these conversations because we work as though being represented on screen is political and liberating and life-changing and all of that. But if we're lucky and you've brought us a little bit of that luck, it can also be sexy and fun, and that's nice too, right? I'm old enough to remember when queer women, especially Black queer women, barely existed on screen at all. And when we did, do you remember? We were tragic or dangerous or murdered or institutionalized or miraculously cured by heterosexuality when the credits came up. So for many of us, representation was limited. I think for me, it felt like a warning not to exist, which is one of the reasons why your work is so important. So yeah, long before diversity, as you've heard, became industry language, before targets and strategies that I've worked so hard to put in place, you were making these bold, funny, intelligent bits of work that centered back Black queer lives unapologetically. We did love that. And you weren't asking permission. We loved that too. So Cheryl Dunye, just if any of you don't know, is a filmmaker, a writer, a cultural pioneer who has fundamentally reshaped queer cinema and independent film. And if you haven't already seen The Watermelon Woman, then what are you waiting for? It became the first feature film directed by a Black lesbian about Black lesbian lives. And it's still iconic because it did something radical. It placed us right at the center of the story. In fact, you placed yourself right at the center of the story. So, yeah, thank you for consistently challenging who gets archived, who gets remembered, who gets desired, and all of that. Honestly, this conversation feels like a fitting way to start this summit. So, Cheryl, welcome again. It's
Thank
genuinely a
you.
pleasure
Wow.
to have you here. Let's, yeah, let's
Ooh,
get.
that's so uplifting. Thank you, Femi. I mean, really, definitely, it feels like, yeah, it does. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks everybody out there. Yes. The
I'm glad I'm
audiences who have
seeing all
seen
these
it.
hearts
Yeah.
going up.
Oh, the hearts. Thank you. I mean, 30 years ago, making that film that just didn't exist. That's really what I want to talk about to everybody. And, having the courage to do so. There were no images of me, of us, our bodies. I went to the Lesbian History Archive. I found a few, found a couple lives there. But when I was trying to find stuff to use in the film, I didn't. We went to the Library of Congress, looked for those images, way too expensive. And they didn't really hit the kind of intimacy and contradiction, and it was just not the right archive.
Mm.
So the question became, what do you do when you need the material and it's the material's not usable? For me, it's something to think about, and I'm gonna have DJ kind of start those slides of thinking about what that means when you have to make that film that doesn't exist. Next slide, please. So it's important to really think about because our histories have never been archived. Like I actually say in the film, I really use that truth that Cheryl was seeking and had to kind of pull us apart. And I say us because I represented a lot of things, not just myself, but the character searching for myself. It built on, like, I guess 5 to 10 years of me creating the character Cheryl in a talking head format and video art. So it was something to prioritize that character and that search. I had already sort of capsulized how to do that. And so my search became our search. My search became that search for truth. So a lot of it was really thinking about, like, how do you put life into the images that you want to create? How do you put those fragments together? How do you use that joy? You use community. For me, it was really important to make that image with, next slide, please, with folks that I loved. It was really important to answer the invisibility and the lack of with visibility and truth of my life right in the middle. So the lack that it began with turned into something else. And so next slide, please. I really wanted to do that, and here's how the film began. So we're going to see a clip.
Hey, Tamara's Bob here.
Late again? You really should try to pick up the phone sometime because I called you this morning and let you know Bob was coming in early. Or were you at the White Dog Cafe cruising all the cute girls again?
No, I was home doing something more important than this place, thank you.
You don't have to work here, Cheryl. I'm sorry I got you the damn job in the first place.
Tamara, that was 2 years ago, It's time to move on. I'm a filmmaker, Anyway, did those special order tapes come in yet?
Yes, they're over here. I certainly hope that Mike O'Reilly likes those films as much as you do. I can't believe you're wasting a tape scan to order them. I can barely stand the stuff that Hollywood puts out now, let alone that nigga mammy shit from the 30s.
Oh my God, look what's here. A phone with a watermelon in it.
Like I said.
And we'll stop the clip there so I can really talk about this.
Watch those boring old films.
So it's really interesting to kind of think about this 30 years later, like what I was doing. I mean, I was just making it. I was making a lot of proof when what Cheryl was doing, the character within the script, because it is scripted, that part of the film, the 16 millimeter part of the film. And then you have the video part. We'll look at that later. But I needed to show that I'm putting myself in the world of cinema that I was searching in. I was searching in a video store that was popular then. I love video stores. They tell stories. They take us to other places. They're the first thing that we actually, sort of look at and compare ourselves to or find ourselves in, see the lack of. It was media. So it was really not to just, have a narrative that's happening, but have it in a store where somebody's looking, where there are tapes, where there's, labor also happening, surrounded by cinema, right? Surrounded by what the search was. So that becomes part of the engine of the film as well. And I think filmmakers really feel that pressure to find those answers. And I wanted to put the answers in the machine itself. So it creates the movement, it creates what's going on, it creates, Cheryl grabbing things out and, you know, exposing what she wants, her desire, how she's undermining the system, even politically, right? I come from a background, I was an anarchist punk. I, sort of found things. It was also a lot about finding things. My first images were found in my mother's closet of my family, that, looking and dreaming. So I had to use sort of that truth, my truth, to turn it into the truth of the character Cheryl. And one thing I just popped up in my mind, so it's kind of veering off a little bit, but in graduate school, when I was making my video art, I was really thinking about um, when you're invisible, when you're not there, what do you need to show people to prove that you're real? And we know that documentary is a part of it. So it's sort of documenting, let's have this documentary or narrative vignette that looks real. Let's put text on the screen. Um, and then you hear my voice telling you, and with those things, this theory of threes, I called it, would say if you don't get it, then you don't get it by now. Like I've given you everything. I've given you the truth. I've given you the fiction of it. I've given you talking head about it. And, so that was sort of where the talking head played out into the narrative and where that form came from. But here now I took it to another level from my video art. And if people have seen those shorts, you'll actually see how I started kind of sketching together what became the Watermelon Woman, to play with that structure, to play with that structure and put a narrative into it. So let's go to the next slide, please. Um, so I'm going to really show you a clip about where that talking head sort of worked and how I turned it into. Now we're moving to the video part of it where I use the talking head, right? So you get to see now the narrative. You get to see this, video talking head and this character that I sort of created a while back, but has come to within the narrative. So let's play that clip.
Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I'm a filmmaker. No, I'm not really a filmmaker, but I have a videotaping business with my friend Tamara, and I work at a video store, so I'm working on being a filmmaker. The problem is I don't know what I want to make a film on. I know it has to be about black women because our stories have never been told. So I've been renting movies. No, I haven't been renting movies, but I get movies from the video store that I work at, and I've taken all these films out from the 30s and 40s with black actresses in them, like Hattie McDaniel and Louise Beavers. And in these films, in some of the films, the black actresses aren't even listed in the credits, and I was just totally shocked by that. So in this one film that came into the store, Plantation Memories, I saw the most beautiful black mammy named Elsie. And I just had to show this, so watch.
Oh, don't cry, Missy. Master Charles is coming back for sure. I know he is. Do you really think so, Elsie? Oh, yes, Missy Barbara, I know he is. I prayed to God all night long, and this morning, his little angel told me that he was coming back. Back to you.
Thank you, DJ. So what I'm really interested in right here is about like how I use this documentary language to create this legitimacy, right? So the interviews, the direct address, the research footage, they carry authority, right? Even before the content does. So the film starts borrowing documentary grammar because this video art that I was doing, you used to if you see my earlier work. I'm pushing you towards my earlier work. But here it is. I'm reproducing it in 16 and it looks like the video and it's in the same format, but now it's authority. Now we're watching this in the dark theater and we're seeing that search. And this direct address is right at you. So I'm not even questioning, I'm telling you, I'm pushing this in your face, right? What's interesting right now, 30 years later, is this is TikTok, this is Instagram, and I think the surgence and why people are really connecting with this, again, one of the reasons is because I'm using this format or constructing this format of putting myself, telling my truth to you directly at you, like I'm doing right now. So this absence becomes structure, right? What is missing? Who benefits? What form answers are there? This becomes the core framework of the film. What is missing? And what can the cinematic form become from that? Not solve it, but respond to it. Let's look at another clip.
The box was in the closet. Why don't you listen to me, Cheryl?
Mom.
Done the other one. How do I look, Cher?
Oh, you look fine. Get those earrings on. You look good.
You think so?
Yeah, this is for the video, so don't worry. It's not, gonna be too deep. So, you saw lots of films when you were growing up in the 30s, right?
Oh, yes. A lot of films.
And one of your favorite stars was the Watermelon Woman, right?
The who?
The Watermelon Woman. Remember the skinny girl we talked about?
I didn't see the water who. I'd never heard of the Watermelon Woman.
Oh, come on. Look, I took off from work to come all the way out here to ask you about the Watermelon
Now,
Woman.
wait a minute, Cheryl. You're talking to your mother. You don't talk to me like that.
I'm sorry. But I specifically wanted to talk to you about this, and you acted like you knew before. Well, what did you see any movies back then? Were there any other actresses? Or?
Oh, yes. But I didn't see that one. I saw Queenie.
Queenie?
Yeah, she was in Gone with the Wind.
You mean Butterfly McQueen?
Well, okay. She was in Gone with the Wind. Mm-hmm. And we saw some of these other actresses and things.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to know about the Watermelon Woman. She was in the films by Martha Page. Look at this box. Martha Page is the director.
Okay, freeze right here, DJ. I want to on this cut here. So I wanted to talk about more here, right? The archive is not just about institutions, right? It's also about memory, rumor, family, community. The archive is something that I wanted. You saw my mom in that image that was frozen there for a second. There's actually a photo, my little childhood photo of my brother. It's in a real living room, my real mom, hamming it up for me a little bit and brings tears to my eyes. He's not with us right now on this grounds, but she's around me at this moment. So I really wanted that evidence to become about truth, my truth. There's no undeniable truth, no undeniable way that this intimacy and the humor with this becomes part of the world here, the world of this film, and it makes you feel even more comfortable with it, makes you want to believe more. It kind of peels back and grounds you into a place, because this is early on in the film where, okay, I get this. This is really your mom. This is real. And you're about to be in a truth and a moment of truth. So next slide, please. This is another clip, and I'm going to set it up that this clip is about society and about the community around you. So if we want to play that.
The other day, I mentioned my project to Tamara's mother, and she gave me this card. Some friend of the family, no doubt. She said this lead character is really into black film. Tamara told me that when she was a child, she saw Lee trying to hit on her older cousin Tyrone, and Tyrone kicked him in the balls. Well, with a background like that, you know I had to go check him out. I even brought Miss Tammy along to help me film it all.
So you came to see what I got, huh?
Yep. What's this stuff over here?
Oh, got some posters here from some black cast films, like this one here, got Gone Harlem with Ethel Moses, kind of sultry sepia diva. She just reclining there.
Wow.
Nice. Got Julie Jones, a juke joint here, Ralph Cooper in Dark Manhattan. Ralph Cooper used to MC at the Apollo. His son still works up there. Wow. I like this one up here. Got Bill Pickett, world's color champion, the Bulldogger. Ruff. Tough.
Wow.
Come on in here. Now, everything is authentic except some of the race memorabilia in the kitchen and this sign here, right up there. Drama, because you know who serves the drama in this house, all right?
Please.
All right?
Well, what's this Royal Theater?
The Royal, the Standard, the Dunbar.
So let's stop here.
To be in the 20s and 30s.
Thanks, DJ. So this section grounds the film it's socially, right? And not just socially about Cheryl's search for looking for truth within her world, the character's world, because this is so meta, right? This is also using the truth that I wanted to insert, my Hollywood. So that's Brian Freeman playing, Lee, and he was in this group called Pomo Afro Homos that was popular in the early 90s, late 80s. He's a performance artist with black gay men together, and somebody's work that I saw in my community. Everybody showed up in the film that I saw. I wanted to make my own Hollywood. I didn't need their Hollywood. I didn't need those people. I wanted to see the people that influenced me. So I insert them in different ways in the film. In other parts, there's Sarah Schulman. Camille Paglia shows up. It's really important to use what you got and put that forward. So that becomes a sort of texture here, but so much fun, so much about living the neighborhood, the lives. It gives you a different perspective, and it always keeps the humor, right? It always keeps moving. It always keeps us, and the audience is learning how to sort of read that system that I'm presenting and read the system at larger. So next slide, please. So I'm going to show you the clip about this next clip too.
Welcome to the Center for Lesbian Information and Technology. Actually, we're very disorganized here, but it's because we're just a volunteer-run collective, and you know how hard it is. Things take time. But, someday we're going to have a great system where people are going to donate materials, and then they're going to be logged, they're going to be categorized, they're going to be sorted, they're going to be stored. But right now, they're just in boxes.
Well, I came to find out about the Black collection on lesbians. Is that a separate collection, or?
It's very separate. Oh. We received a very generous gift from the Hysteria Foundation, but they wanted it to be used exclusively for African American lesbians, so if we have any photographs that there are white people in, we just cross them out. Now come with me and I'll show you the files. For example, you might find this very...
Okay, well, that's a great one there to stop too. Okay, and we'll stop there. So that's Sarah Schulman, as I said, and again, using my community and using actually some of the process of how, reading the community. I'll say that this was a light read, because some of the archives that they did go to were not organized. They were not, I had to show the question I was having about that process and the things we actually have to do. Again, this is a living truth. This is, thank you for the hearts there, because you don't want to read what was like the system was like, but you also want to show what it's like and how hard it is to get the material. So the evidence, again, that memory, that truth becomes the process. It becomes, and using, again, my community and questioning my community becomes your question. So all these forms of knowledge may be dismissed, but they're true, and they're intimate relationships that are happening as well. So the next slide, please. All right. So before we tee this one up, I'm going to talk about desire, and I'm going to the other important thing that was going on here. The film is also using my own truth. Martha Page, who you saw in other images, or if you've seen the film, was played by my producer, who actually was my partner, Alex Uhas, at the time. And the film is mimicking the true dynamics that were going on in a relationship about race, and, you know, a mixed race lesbian couple in the early, you know, 90s, and the things we were having to deal with. So I kind of put them in the film, and two other things, again, using real community and building on my own world of the moment, was using Gwen Turner, who was in the film Go Fish before, and Jaguar Mary X, who went by Jocelyn Taylor then, who was in a lot of activist videos and the activist video work that I was doing then. On the walls, there are posters from, I think there's an Isaac Julian poster. Again, filling up the frame with my truth, filling up the frame with our truth, and then using a relationship that's also complicating and building on that as well. So let's play that slide.
Then I said to him, who do you think I am, your slave?
That beats Cheryl's story of having to call this snobby white woman customer a nigger.
Yeah, it does. So, Diana, what brings you to our fair city? Work? School?
Oh, no. I just decided to move. I got sick of Chicago and I decided to move to Philly, the city of brotherly love.
And sisterly affection. What?
And sisterly affection.
Brotherly and sisterly affection, right, Stace?
Anyway, Diana, if you came to Philadelphia to escape the cold Chicago winters, don't expect it to be any better here.
Oh, I didn't leave to escape the cold. I needed a mental health break.
Good answer. Cheryl likes her women to have that mental health thing going on.
Well, I like my women a little crazy like you, darling.
So, Cheryl tells me you're in school. Business, right?
I'm getting my MBA from Wharton.
My father went to Wharton.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when he got out, he couldn't get a job, and so he decided to join the diplomatic corps. He hated it, but my mom loved it. We traveled everywhere. I was born when we were stationed in Jamaica.
You were born in Jamaica?
Yeah. I love telling people where I was born. But we lived everywhere. We lived in Germany and California and Iceland.
Iceland?
Iceland, Bangladesh, Tel Aviv.
Okay, we can stop there. I think you get it. So the next slide after that. So this is filling up the complications, right? The search is never neutral. Desire shapes what we see. The power dynamics kind of go into the whole process of it. So Cheryl's search on screen also will mimic the search that happens off screen, but it's never neutral. It's a desire changes how we look. It will also change how we prioritize our work, what we romanticize in our work. The film turns the critique back on the filmmaker itself here. Let's go to the next slide. So even the archive needs to be questioned, right? Archives are not about innocent spaces. They reproduce power. They reproduce omission. They even recover the politics that's going on. So let's play this clip and I can dig into it a little bit more.
What y'all have been waiting for. The biography of the Watermelon Woman. Faye Richards. Faith Richardson. The first record of Faye that I could find was this photo, Faith Richardson, winner of the Beachy Beecham Bicarbonate Jingle Contest, Philadelphia, 1922. I know that she worked as a maid for several years, and I know that she danced in the chorus on South Street. But I'm not sure how she got into her first film. She must have met Martha Page at some club or something. This one is stamped Newark Studios, and on the back it says, The Watermelon Woman and Sandra Vincent in Jersey Girl, 1931. I think this is Faye's first film with Page. In fact, I know it is. And from what I can tell, this is the beginning of their relationship, both on and off the screen. Newark Studios' biggest hit was the 1933 film Louisiana Lady. Martha scored with this one and got her ticket to Hollywood. Faye scored 2. She was signed with Silver Star Studio and played in several of their movies, usually as a household maid or cook.
And we can stop here. So this is where the film fully reveals its method, right? Cheryl's playing Cheryl. Diana's playing by Gwenvere Turner. You know, the form is talking about this texture, it's this repetition, it's truth is revealed. It constructs this missing history. It's showing the mechanics of construction. There's a quote at the end that, you know, pops up that really actually makes it live. If you haven't seen, I don't want to give it completely away for those who haven't seen it, but so for me, this is where the authority of the film lives, because I'm like giving it to you. I'm showing you that I'm exposing the mechanics of how I made this film. I'm exposing this truth. I'm exposing how we need to form belief to make, you know, again, the structural truth is not, it's how you actually use your tools, use your facts to make the proof. And that's sort of what really pays off. Next slide, please. I think there's one more slide. Okay, let's play this clip.
Hollywood Lesbians by Doug McAlden. I wonder if he's a lesbian. Anyway, there's a section on director Martha Page, and Faye's name comes up. I'm going to show you this picture, because this is the killer. Some folks even say that she was once head over heels in love with the Watermelon Woman who starred as the help in most of these early 1930 women's films. I wonder what kind of help she offered. I wonder if Faye was into Martha or Martha was into Faye. You know, I just think that Faye had to have something else going on in her life, you know, something more, somebody else.
So I made The Watermelon Woman because I needed a cinematic language that could not hold what the archive could. It's not a replacement history, but it was as an intervention, as a way of making absent visible enough that someone else would have to begin from the same void. I made The Watermelon Woman because I had to. I had nothing to lose. And in making the film that doesn't exist, you have nothing else to lose. You only have to gain. You're putting out into the world. And you're using the tools that you have now, not trying to grab from outside, but you're investing in your own truth. And if you do that, the world cannot deny what you're doing. And you're centering in and building your own legacy as a filmmaker. So I'm going to stop right there and turn it over to Femi and thank everyone for listening and being here and, you know, taking a little bit of wisdom. I'm sure there's some questions and we can dig deeper. So
thank you so much for that. I was giving you the space and muted there. There's all sorts of lovely reactions going along the screen there. I want to start. I had a series of questions, but I just want to start with what you finished with there. Because I think that a lot of filmmakers in my day, in my youth, would not have said, I had to make that film because I had nothing to lose. I think they might have said, actually, I can't possibly make that film. I will lose everything. Because it could, as much as it maybe opened doors for you, that particular film, it could have closed doors, couldn't it? Do you think you thought of it like that at that time?
So it's so interesting. Thank you for the question, because I did not think of it at that time. The film world was not that film world in the early 90s, right? There was nothing there. It was a blank canvas. There was nobody like me in that landscape. So had nothing to lose because I was injecting something into that wasn't there. There was no, there was no hunger for let me become a filmmaker or a director. People were doing other things. I think music was popular. I'm trying to figure out what people were really doing. There was no internet. There was no, it was a much slower pace. And writing, there were a lot of Black women writers at this point. It was sort of writing and poetry and being activists. It was a different world. So I was an artist and just building my practice and putting it into a space where this narrative was necessary to do. And it was a political intervention. It was an act of again, filling a void, seeing how everybody else was doing it, and what audiences were like, people who were like me weren't there. I said, let me just do it and do it by any means necessary.
Yeah. And so you set about doing it. Were you at that time just trying to tell that story so that we had something else to look at, or were you aiming to shift like the whole sector, as it were, at that time? Did you have any sense of that at all?
Yes, I think what I really wanted to show, most importantly, was that folks like me exist. We didn't come out of the moment. There's a history, there's a legacy to Black queer people in the world, definitely in Hollywood. So when I showed up in rooms for meetings, when I was filling those spaces that were little Cheryl, in the early 90s, going to art galleries and screenings with her short work, and people were like, oh my gosh, I never knew people like you existed, those type of things. I had to dig into that. It was just like okay, we do exist. Let me go look for it. Stop asking this question every time you see, you're so funny. Those type of things. There had to be, right. So going to invent her, going to look in Tom's, Coons, Mulattoes, Mammies, and Bucks. If you know this book by Donald Bogle, about Black film history, and then seeing nothing because of the way African Americans were represented at that moment. They weren't included in narratives, especially queer people. They were excluded from narrative. If you get one chance to talk about Black film, you're not going to talk about a bunch of people like me and us, So there was that invisibility, and looking hard and going to archives and really doing that search to just do that search, because I couldn't look it up online. I had to go to the archive, right? And then looking into the queer film history that was popular. I think Vito Russo's Cellular Closet was out. Looking in those big book, big movement, that documentary that was made too. And where was it? It wasn't in the book. It wasn't in I think there's a little bit in the book, but it was definitely not in the doc. And being like, what? Hold it. You couldn't tell one narrative or story. So it was a call. I was called out to do this, and why not? I didn't have the mentality then to know that McDonald's is always hiring, but there were other things to do. And I had already shown work in the Whitney Biennial. This lived in the art world as well as the film world at this time. So after it won the Berlinale and it didn't get distribution, it got a lot of visibility in the Academy, in the art world, until we found a small distributor a year later, who made it more accessible to people who wanted to see it. But it wasn't like distributor with, Miramax or anything like that. So
I'm going to deviate a little bit and just stay with that if I can, because one of the things I wanted to do, well, I told my household, we're going to watch every film. Okay, we're going to watch every film before I go meet Cheryl this time. And here in the UK, that is not easily done. I don't know if you know that. The Watermelon Woman you can see, but some of the early works, it's virtually impossible to see. Is there something, because there's so many excited women kind of putting stuff in the chat here, is there something that we as fans of your work can do to make it more accessible for more Black lesbians who want to see it? What sort of things make a
sure.
difference?
I know that I've just recently been at the BFI and at Flair showing the shorts. I'm trying to make, I think Mubi actually has the film streaming. Mubi, not in the US, but international. So if you wanted to rent it, I think they have the shorts. Our distributor, who is now a great distributor called the Film Collaborative, has the doc and as the Watermelon Woman and all my shorts, and makes them very accessible for people who ask and want to screen it in like film clubs, or rent it and bring folks together, because it's very important about bringing people together when you watch work. slightly a sliding scale, but it'd be great to get a little something. But they also do not own the rights, which is an important thing. And we could talk about that later because the film did go on a rights journey and now I own my rights, but it did go on a rights journey and people need to think about that. That's also films that don't exist because you don't make the right decision around deals, and knowing what you have, or the hunger to just sign something and get it out there, or chasing that game. I think it's more important and political to make sure you're making the right deal that represents who you are as a distributor rather than the right deal, because all money is not good money. All people aren't good people in that distribution world, and you need to think about that, especially if you're going to make a work that you want people to see and not sit on a shelf.
Yeah, don't grab the first expedient because you need money today. Like, think about what's going to happen there. If you've got more to say about that, I'm sure your audience would love to hear it. So please feel free
Right.
before I go somewhere else. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So the rights journey, and I'm not going to necessarily name the international distributor's name, based in the UK, like I say that, of queer work, or the US person who helped, a producer who helped remaster the work, and the distributor of the film for the first 20 years of it. You say yes, they say nothing sometimes, or you don't find out what happens because you trust.
Yeah.
You trust as much that, so many light things have happened, but you trust, and you're also hustling, right? You're trying to make your other work and live your life and do the next thing, but you go and you use your faith to see that, is happening. And then you find out that it's not, because you just need to keep record of stuff. And I think up until, I guess, this so fast movement of digital and better systems and programs to keep, track of things, and actually to be able to keep your own distribution, especially with shorts and smaller work, you should sort of think about, like, I could use AI, or, some system, or somebody else use AI and I don't use it, but to, use this platform to put my work out there, and start that way, start small. To get it out there in the world. So I would say those things didn't exist, and I had to just kind of put faith in the people who I thought were queer, who I thought were this or that, and they ultimately, exploited, and you had to catch them. I had to catch them and take the power back, and I guess that's where I am now, with the power back in my hands.
And is it important that that power stays with us, that our own stories are told by us? I mean, what's your journey taught you about the relationship between authorship and authentic representation? Is it essential?
Yeah, it is essential. So it's interesting right now to be my journey now, where I am in my, I'm going to be 60 this year. I'm a fire horse. Yay. A lot of good stuff happens at 60. The world begins again. Everybody who's out there who's that age or above. I am experiencing just the doors are opening up, this resurgence, this authorship is sort of, opened up a whole bunch of things. I think it is allowing me to really think about, and have some authority in making some decisions about who I want to make work with and where I want to make work. And I think it's really important to do that, especially at the beginning. I had this moment with, I guess maybe the last 10, 15 years working in television. So my episodic career as a television director was knowing that I could complete work out there and have visibility with my name, but it's not my work. And it took a while to understand. I mean, I've done Bridgerton, Umbrella Academy, all these shows. The last show I did, one of the popular one was The Hunting Wives, for people who are into those type of shows. But I did, started with Queen Sugar. And with television, the work's completed. It's a network, and whoever owns that network or a broadcaster is way above you. You're delivering something, but it's complete. It's out there. And you realize you are fitting into a box of formula with that. And so after making sort of so many programs and seeing my work sitting there, we here at Jingletown, which is the company is my company for making work with, along with Karina Hodoyan, my partner, we decided to make that work that matters and really go back to that spirit. And so in the last couple of years, we've been, plugging away and not doing the television work that does matter because it put me out there in a different way. But and it's out there, right? And go back to the juicy hard bits that as it chugs along, it builds community and mushrooms out.
That makes sense. I can see some, I've got my questions, but hey, this is for everybody, and I can see some here in the Q&A. So I'm going to shelve mine for a bit and talk to some
All
of
right,
these.
okay.
So
Implement.
somebody, anonymous, has said, I'd love to hear more about your idea of form creating belief. They want to know how form informs the style or vehicle that you use to tell your story. And, what informs you. And I have to say that this is from someone who describes themselves in capital letters as a huge fan. So,
Okay.
how does
All right.
that inform how does that inform the style vehicle that you choose?
Yeah. I mean, so you have an idea, you uh about, say you want to do a rom-com about, you want to do something about love, young love, some, coming out story between two people, and you want it to end happy or sad. You should that's popular, so you have to kind of think about, like, how am I going to, should it be a film? Should it be made with puppets? Should it be made, like, how can you accent this to go back and tell your truth? Should it be a play? Should it be a song? I mean, there's so many media ways to go about it. You have to kind of play it through your mind as an artist. You go back to the artistry of it, and thinking about where it lives in the world, or where there might be narratives in art or sculpture or song or dance or a mixture of all those things. Like, I think theater is becoming a space where people are experimenting with video. I just saw Cynthia Erivo's Dracula, one woman show. She plays all characters. I was like, what? And tons of video. It was amazing. You have to figure out or you're inventing form, right? You're using a little bit of it all, but you have to really think about that as a way to get across your message, right? And then you have to think about what you can pocket to do that, and how much time you want to invest in doing it. Are you ready to take a 1-year journey, or a 3-year journey, or a 5-year journey, or a question mark journey? So those are like, how immediate do you need it, right? And I think that really will dictate the form that's out there, that because we have so many accesses to form right now. We didn't have all those accesses before. So I would say that would be the one. Do you just want to do a little something on Instagram or TikTok or whatever? But those are some of the decisions I would go into about making that work, and about or leading up to making that work. How do you build your form, right? Do I need to expose just a little bit or not? But those are some of the things. And again, I use this concept of threes for me. This talking head, this vignette, and words on the screen. And to me, it felt like, those are the 3 ways that people were taking things in. There's also color. Now there's, music. We have so many ways that people feel sense. There's so many communities who don't have vision, who don't hear. You have to think about that, and who your audience is, and where you can, again, mushroom out and grow. So those are some of the things I think about before I make a work. To put it out in the world, and
Which
go
of
on
those
that
different
journey.
layers? Which of those different layers are you going to use? Are you going to use so your concept of the Dunye then is layering all of some of those different choices, isn't it?
Always, but always going back to the truth. I cannot deny about the world around me, and I'm one of those people who I'm looking out the window all the time. I don't want to drive. I want to look out the window, or even when I'm driving, I'm like trying not to look out the window, because there's so many things, there's so many connections. The real world to me excites me every day. I woke up with wide-eyed. By the end of the day, it's been like this, but the beginning of the day, it's just like, give me the world, and we have one life to live. How do we translate it? And I know my purpose in the world is, and my being in the world is to share my exposure with it. And I've already been sort of doing that for a while, so I'm going to continue on that and creating that sort of body of work.
I've got a couple of questions. One from Katerina, who hasn't told me where she is, but is asking, what's your relationship with role identifiers? Do you call yourself, despite choosing from all those different forms, do you call yourself a filmmaker primarily, or a director, or an artist? That probably could get quite a short answer, but Katerina wants to know about, it's Katiana, wants to know about finding labels for emerging filmmakers.
Right. Call yourself what you want and let it sit, and call yourself a maestro. You label yourself. I love what my new label is, like when I can fill out these forms. You have to fill out so many forms. You have to fill out. I'm Dr. Dunye. You know what I'm saying? Lord Dunye. I mean, I have fun with it. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And also, whatever. But definitely, I filmmaker, if it's right in a space, because it encapsulates a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm producer, writer, director. Those mean a lot. I'm actually in those guilds, so I'm using that a lot more, but I wasn't that before. So I just use filmmaker. But I think, shift a little bit. I'm always an artist. I'm always an artist. Yeah.
Thank you. I've got one from Mona Lisa, who's asking, she's from Brazil, asking about the creation of, I'm going to leave a word out of here because I'm not sure whether it's going to give anything away, but the creation of Faye Richards and all the information around it. How did you set about creating that background, and were there any mistakes, any learnings from that?
Yes. So the creation of Faye Richards was one that I probably should have created more, of her story and created more materials for that story. There are 81 photos, I think, of her life that we created, or that exist. And it would have been great to have a little bit more. I think because there were jumps. Like I didn't do baby picture, type of things like that. I didn't find that. But that also is the truth, that you don't find baby pictures of people. People didn't have baby pictures going back into that time period, right? So archives have holes, and I accept those holes and build them into the narrative. I mean, the one thing about having done this talking head film and having this process was, I created the narrative. I did a talking head with my shorter work at the beginning with characters or myself, and then I brought them back after I had sort of edited things and did another talking head, and them talking in the past, talking in their character past. You could see that a lot in Black is Blue, the last short that I did. But so I was able to fill in the holes, and it then became part of this process. But there are ways to use video that way, and people don't know the edit's the edit, right? So, but definitely I feel like using a medium, if you're experimenting, do a little sample, a little rough sketch, because you can do those in one day with your camera phone and create something and just test it out to see if it works, and then fill in the blanks, and you have something that you've done, and then you move on. You know what I'm saying? So you have the technology in your hand. There's no need to wait, like, let me get everything together. That's just you stopping yourself. So I think, start playing with those things, and titles and mediums and forms to figure it out, before you go out big and try to ask money and things of that nature, because you have it right here.
Yeah. So don't wait till you have everything, and don't go big straight away. Got it. So now I've got Amy asking, and it was quite helpful that you talked about Black is Blue. Amy wants to talk about the road to pre-production on Black is Blue.
Right.
How's that going? Because it's looking amazing.
Oh, all right. I could do a little fill in, everybody. So yeah, my new project that's, come to life again. The feature that I'm working on is called Black is Blue. I made a short 10 years ago, wrote a script maybe quickly after that, and it sat there. I kind of tried to get it out there with the agents and managers and people like that. Nobody knows what to do with yet alone, Cheryl Dunye's Black lesbian director's next film, but one about Black trans people in the future, set in the Bay Area. It behooves me why they don't, but um, journey. Very important that the short existed and exists, so I built off of that. Right now, where we are, having brought it back to life, I would say 2 years ago, at Cinemart, where the journey started, where we were selected for Cinemart at the Rotterdam Film Festival, and it really started building on that, meeting producers in that form who were interested in the project, and that sort of trickled down through the Berlinale's film market. Show up where you need to be. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to go the place that you if you're not in the spaces where you need to be, or filmmakers are like you, and you're here now, so that's where you need to be. But just keep showing up in those places. Again, you can do it online, you can do it whatever, but showing up in the market, even though I didn't have anything in the market, I showed up. I was asked to then be on a conversation with Christine Vachon, but it wasn't that. I was just going to show up. I went to Cannes last year too, just showed up. And just insert yourself in the picture. Like, try to get the minimal badge to do it. There's even sneaky ways to get into Cannes with the short in the market. Everybody knows that one. If you don't,
I love that.
ask,
Just show
ask me
up
later.
thing.
Just show up, especially if you're nearby in Europe. There's so many markets, there's so many places. You guys are just show up, right? Just show up. Show up online, show up. And online is easy, right? And then it just started to expose itself more. So right now where we are, I'm sorry, it took a long time for that. Two local producers have come on board. Karina and I applied for the California rebate, and we got it. This little and so we're getting this rebate that I never thought I could get, but it was getting other producers locally. I'm making it local. We're shooting at the end of the summer. We have a gap, but we're out here hustling with local investors. Most people who are on the project right now are women. All the producers are women. Our lead is a woman who's come on board, Laverne Cox, to play the lead role, and just bringing in all her support and her network. So it's trudging. These next 2 months we want to open offices in our production office in July. So we have like 2 months to really get that gap closed. So we're looking for partners with that, but it's going good. It's going good. I woke up a little dark today, because you do. I'm like, why am I not at Cannes? Why am I not hustling there? But because you feel it. You feel that moment. You feel that train, and you just ride it. Essex Hemphill, Black gay poet, told me once, in person, Les Essex, he said to me, and you used to be able to use tokens to ride buses. He said, Cheryl, don't be down on yourself. You're being made a token. What do you do with tokens? You put them in buses and you ride. You go far. So use your marginality, Audre Lorde, as strength.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, if you find yourself a token in the room, just cash yourself in. Doesn't matter. Go for it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just go for it.
You talked about Black is Blue, and I've got someone here from Beyond Deep Productions saying, Black queer trans filmmaker here, wondering what you feel is needed today in filmmaking with all the censorship of raw Black queer love. What's the best way to get it out there? And as a thank you for pioneering the industry. Any thoughts?
You're welcome. You're welcome, Ashe. We need more of it. The resistance is make the work. We've been through these cycles before. This is not new. I was just having dinner last night with Susan Stryker, and I'm remembering Susan Stryker speaking at to the Congress, or the Democratic, with some trans folks a while ago, and it was just like, we need more images. And what we did, we work from hunger. Rice and beans are good, but we keep making those images. We survive. So right now is the most important time to just, again, make the work by any means necessary, right? Show them that we exist, is not to show them that we're invisible. And some people's journey is to out there do the fight, document that fight. People need to be documented. Legacies need to be uncovered. short form, long form. There's so many avenues to make that work. So this is the time to do that work. And I see it happening, right? So I say, and any ending is possible. There could be happy endings, sad endings. We don't need the same endings, but show endings and beginnings, and histories and herstories and their stories. This is the time to just flood it with, like the way you're flooding these hearts. We need to flood those images out there. So, you know, yeah, the revolution will be televised right here. You know what I'm saying?
We're all going to be there. You can bet everything. It sounds to me like you're saying things are better now. Like, is that the case? I mean, you've been in the industry now for decades. You said you were 60, right? When you look at it now, does it genuinely, what feels different in terms of opportunity, representation, and is there anything that just feels like, no, more of the same?
Well, I think what's happening on a larger level, why I haven't done television work in a while, beyond, choices I'm making to make my feature, but the 300 shows went down to 100 shows, went down to the old school gang, is making it more difficult for bringing in these outsiders to make that COVID work. I would say it was the COVID world of streaming. Is that there's always going to be less of that. They're putting more money into that. You see these tentpole films again and again, and just getting sort of bigger and bigger, so that there's a hungrier audience saying, it's the same thing when you turn on the channel. Every channel is the same narrative, the same faces, the repeat, 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 repeat. But you're seeing that there's a hunger on this level to see more and more, especially at these. There's lots of revival houses, or lots of people brick and mortaring. They're with clubs and smaller cinemas, micro cinemas, micro movements, and people coming out to, and getting involved. So what's really important is feeding those spaces with something. Now's the moment to walk to your local smaller space and say, can I put on a show of work? And then walk to the next one and walk to the next one, right? And then you have a body of work out there. So it's that moment to do that and use your local to make it, bigger. And I just say, I know nothing. I'm involved in so many local groups. There's one called Cinemama that I'm involved with Boots Riley and Kamal Bell and, a variety of other people. I'm involved with Make It Bay. So I'm actually being localified to electrify the larger, but definitely contributing to it is important to do. And you have to move. You can't just be on your device online. You have to put it down, and you have to get on your feet and walk around.
Get out there, yeah. We expect so much to happen through that little tiny screen these days, don't we? Who have I got now here? I've got Elisa, who's saying that they wonder how you feel your legacy is in actual media portraying Black lesbian characters and their relationships with whiteness. So thinking about things like your work in Lovecraft Country, rather. Do you think that you have a legacy that's impacting how Black lesbians are being portrayed in other spaces?
Thank you for that question. I think so. I mean, I think I show much more of like the Black mama, white mama of the 70s, as other people would talk about the representation then. That now there is a representation of showing, yes, it's complicated, but there's joy, right? Yes, power dynamic shift, but there's pleasure, right? Again, I think we can read it in a text easily. Audre Lorde, Zami, that text, as I said, is one that shows that there's complications. And many other authors, but we actually have it in the movement image. Very sad that From the Watermelon Woman to Pariah was 11 years, and that's sort of the big next American produced Black lesbian film. But Pariah was about a darkness too, which is, a true story, a truth to the story, a truth to the filmmaking, not necessarily a true story, but the truth to the filmmaking, and those worlds exist. But it's a story that's not about, it's another coming out story, which we need those worlds. I think we need out stories. I think we need as is stories, more of them. I mean, definitely we need the coming out stories. Definitely need to show the doc world, but I think we need those. We need cinema, not just docs and narrative. We need we need cinema plural. And let's fill it up with more than just predictable, the same, melodramas, whatever. We need noirs. We need every, space alien lesbians, like that comedy, whatever the title was last year. We need animations. We need to just take over the space more. And it was such a thing. If you think about the 70s, when lesbian culture, I think it was at its height, had Olivia Records, and even I think it's being uncovered about lesbian life in the UK, and other places now are looking into these archives. We created we had our own bookstores, we had our own records, we had our own posters, we had our own novels, we had our own cinema, Barbara Hammer. I mean, we were creating work regardless. And we need to kind of get into doing that again. I really do think that we've sort of been begging and waiting, and here's this system that's never going to give enough. Here's another Met Ball that's in contradiction, and all the people you love are in it, and you're like, why are you doing this? You know what it means. We just need to kind of do what it means, and filling up those spaces with that stuff. And we're actually seeing it. I do have so much revel, because I have a 28-year-old and they are making the world theirs in Seattle, which has become such an amazing place. I was just recently there.
That's good to hear. And with people saying we're definitely needing more lesbian spaces, and in all kinds of different lesbian spaces. I know Olivia's still around. They're doing holidays and things like that.
Holidays and things like that.
Yeah,
but channels. I mean, video stores. Theater. Dance. I mean, just take it over, make our own media. I mean, micro becomes macro, becomes a movement. It just, I mean, again, you use the algorithm and click and you're connected. It's scary and sad, but it's AI is here. Sorry.
Yeah,
AI is here.
Let's make it
and
ours.
The level of it, let's make it ours. I mean, do you remember? This is a funny thing I like to say. Do you remember when Google and the internet searching started, and somebody would go like, "Oh, I have 2 different kind of pills here. I don't know what to take. Whatever. Let me look up online." And everybody's like, "What? You're looking up online on how to deal with health?"
Look at us now.
Look at us now. That's the only place we go to cure ourselves, first and foremost. We don't even have to walk around the neighborhood without the phone. So I'm just saying, it's here. There's no way around it, kids. It's here.
Yeah,
your phone.
It really is.
It really is. So what part do you want to have in it, and how are you going to use it to make our ism? I mean, we already consented. We consented a long time ago. So how are we going to take control of that consent?
Brilliant. And we've got people saying in the chat here saying thank you so much. They found it really inspirational, saying that they want to get involved in creating new lesbian spaces. So good work being done
yeah,
here.
All right.
Really good. I suppose I just want to ask about if there's anything you're finding frustratingly familiar that hasn't really changed in the industry, so that those of us are young, angry, I don't know, equipped, can set about trying to do something of that. If there's an area you think we still need to do a lot over there, what would it be?
Well, one thing not to do is compare. My wife reminded me of that this morning too. Comparing yourself will destroy you. Comparing yourself to anybody else doing stuff is going to destroy your ass. So don't look around at like, we started this, there, this, and that will just ruin you. So remember why you're doing it. Remember what that means in your, there's nobody else like you doing what you're doing. Number one. And people are wanting you to do it because of that. So that's number one. And just, you can't forget that. That's that, you can have your little dark moments. You can go garden or do something healthy and meditate. Meditation is good. But then you just need to get back on the horse and kind of continue on the mission. You don't need to get permission. And the word permission is the word mission, right? Just remember that mission, right? Simple. So yeah, I mean, I think the Watermelon Woman for me is going to be massive. with Laverne Cox, and me playing with technology and talking about Black futures. It came from seeing androids that don't look like us. It came from a response to, again, them programming off of what they see out there of us and us needing that. And it came on this response for a love for film noir, a genre that it was about light and dark and difficult moments and never seeing us in those things, right? And nobody's done that here where I am in Oakland in the Bay Area, and it's technology. Let's see it, let's play with it. So and let's go for it. Like, and so that with this, and it's again something that people have remarkably not. Everybody's, oh, go ask the tech bros for money. Hey, tech bros ain't giving me no money. Like, what I'm saying? Like, what tech bros? People love that. Go ask the tech lesbians for money. Nobody's giving up money. So it's just like, you have to remember that people will give you money after you've done it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a thing.
There's a thing. They'll give you money after you're done. So remember that. And then I'm going to jump into the Zammy thing. You want to talk about a little bit
Zammy?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about Zammy. So remember everything. I remember asking for things when you were little, and always carry a photo. I carry a photo. I don't have my. Also, I carry a photo of little baby Cheryl around with me, to remember that young person, not baby Cheryl, but like wild Cheryl. That young person was fearless. When I was making The Watermelon Woman, I moved to New York. I was living in New York, early 90s, had made my short films, graduated from grad school. And the group was now forming. There was the Killer Film Group. There was the kind of Black queer groups were circling around. Jackie Woodson, a Black lesbian writer, was befriending us. We were starting to just naturally cohese together as a group. And she was like, come on, my new literary agent has all of Audre Lorde stuff. Come on in and check it out. We have an opening there. I'm like, whoa, Audre Lorde, So I go, little baby Cheryl, I go, and I see all of her books there. And Charlotte Sheedy, Ali Sheedy's mom, is this literary age, famous herself. I go like, oh my God, there's Zammy. This book was so important to me. It's on the shelf. Like, I don't know anything about. I went to art school. I don't know edit optioning. Can I make a film about it? She was just like, go make your Watermelon Woman. Go on, right? So years and years later, I'm working with Christine Vachon on this show called Pride. It's on FX. Everybody chose a decade. I chose the 70s, and I do my. Bring us to the 70s documentary style, but use Barbara Hammer, my other form mistress, goddess of lesbian cinema, somebody who also said these things to me, and Audre Lorde, and you follow them through the 70s, right? And so I said, let me just send this to back to Charlotte. I sent it to Charlotte. She said, the first person to ask, do you want to option Zammy to make it a movie? And I go, lit the candles. Can I do that? And I said, let me ask Christine. Christine, Killer Films, said yes. But wait, I have a deal with Orion. The head of Orion came on when we had our little pitch, said yes. So I am making, hold on to your truths, right? 35 years later, in the process, it's going to take a while, of making Zammy, A New Spelling of My Name by Audre Lorde, her biomythography, which is documentary, I don't know, of her young life, but even before she was a poet, with Christine Vachon's Killer Films, for Orion, whomever's going to be owning it at that point. Because right now it's Amazon, I don't know about that. But, what can you do, right? But it's going to get out there and the world's going to see it. So we're in second draft. Again, it's going to take a while, but I think Black is Blue is keeping me, So again, I have a little plan.
We're very excited to hear that.
Very excited. So that's
going crazy
anyway.
here.
There you go. You gotta, remember what you get what you ask for. You got to ask for the right thing.
Yeah. Ask too often, too early and too often. That's what I always say. Go for it. We are so pleased that you were able to join us this evening. And I know that our audience has been absolutely wowed. So all that remains is for me to say thank you and keep us posted. We're all going to sign up on any forum we can so that we can be there when they come to fruition. Thank you once again, Cheryl Dunye, who just...
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Femi, I lift you up. We're there. Here's Marta again. Pilar. I don't know who else is coming in to. This happened. So like the call for this came not too long ago, but I was like, I have to do this. So here I am.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation from CIMA, from the Global Network for Equality in Film, which is this new group of women associations, nonprofit around the world. It's been 2 days of amazing conversations, and we are so glad to have concluded with this conversation and masterclass. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Femi. And I'm going to have here Guadalupe Balaguer, president of CIMA, to just say a few words of closing. And thanks again for everyone. We've been here gathered more than like almost 200 people listening to all the panels. So thank you all. Yeah, Guadalupe, when you want.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Sherry and Femi. It's been a pleasure to listen to you. As I was saying, and as Marta was saying, it's been a honor to host this international summit for CIMA. And on behalf of the Global Network members, on behalf of my colleagues, on behalf of all these women, amazing women that made this possible, we thank you. We truly appreciate you being here. We thank you with all our heart, and stay tuned. This initiative is something we want to keep on moving. So please, we ask you to subscribe to the newsletter and keep this feminist network alive and growing. And goodbye to all of you. Many thanks.